It's January 6th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with the stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with the arrest warrant for President Yoon. With the South Korean leader's detention warrant set to expire at midnight on Tuesday, investigators decided to hand over responsibility for detaining Yoon to the police. To do that, they're seeking to extend the arrest warrant period. And a Seoul court rejected President Yoon's request to invalidate detention and search warrants against him. Yoon's legal team signaled plans to appeal the ruling. The handover of the bodies of all 179 victims of the deadly plane crash in South Korea will be completed on Monday. The flight data recorder is also being sent to the U.S. on Monday for analysis. On the final deadline to detain the troubled South Korean leader, investigators decided to let the police take over the execution of the arrest warrant. We connect with our Park Gon-woo at President Yoon's residence in Yongsan. Gon-woo, tell us more about the CIO's call this morning.
Of course, good morning, Tommy. First of all, as you mentioned, I'm standing near the presidential residence in Yongsan-gu District, Central Seoul, where protests both for and against President Yoon's arrest are taking place. And now back to your question, the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials said Monday morning that it decided to pass all responsibility for arresting Yoon to the police, and that it has submitted an official document on Sunday. The police said they are currently conducting an internal legal review of the document and would announce their decision later. And the CIO is now set to file to extend the period of the arrest warrant following his failure to detain Yoon last Friday with the help of the police.
And Gon-woo, like you mentioned, the protesters for both for and against Yoon's detention have been out there for days now in Yongsan. Is it any calmer now?
Actually not. It's not getting any calmer. I can say it's actually getting more intense right now. I think you can actually hear the sounds from the protest. So protesters from both sides have been rallying for the fourth consecutive day since Friday. They have been here day and night, despite the cold weather, heavy snowfall over the weekend, and rain this morning. It's even raining and snowing at the same time at this moment right now. Police officials estimated that around 10,000 protesters had gathered at the site as of 8 p.m. on Sunday. Around me, there are hundreds of protesters opposing Yoon's arrest, shouting and holding both Korean and U.S. national flags. They are taking turns to go up on stage and making speeches about their thoughts. Those in favor of Yoon's arrest have planned to hold a press briefing urging for his arrest from 10 a.m. while their rally officially starts at 2 p.m. today. Police are present to prevent any physical confrontations, while police buses are actually blocking the roads partially. Fences are also positioned to separate the opposing groups, and I haven't witnessed any physical clashes accordingly. That's all I have for you now. Back to you, Dami.
Alrighty, that was our Park Gon-woo live from Yoon's residence over in Yongsan. Now, amid the efforts to execute the arrest warrant for the South Korean president, Yoon has appealed to the court to dismiss the warrant. However, the court has dismissed his appeal. Our An Sung-jin has the details.
President Yoon Suk-yeol's appeal against his arrest warrant and a search warrant for the presidential residence was dismissed by a court on Sunday. Yoon's legal counsel had mainly challenged three aspects of the warrants. First, it argued that the crime of insurrection is not a subject of investigation under the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials, which issued the warrants. The appeal added that the CIO requested the warrants from the Seoul Western District Court, which the appeal claims does not have jurisdiction over the presidential residence. It also added that some provisions of the Criminal Procedure Act are not included on the warrants. However, the Seoul Western District Court, which had issued the warrants, dismissed the appeal. It stated that warrant objections are for when a suspect is already in custody, suggesting that the request is not valid to start off with. Regarding the claim that the CIO does not have the authority to investigate into insurrection, the court claimed that since Yoon is accused of abuse of power, adding insurrection charges would simply be a related crime. Yoon's legal team had also appealed that the warrants ignore Article 110 of the Criminal Procedure Act, which states that an area that requires military confidentiality cannot be searched. However, the court said that since the warrants are confirming Yoon's whereabouts, Article 110 wouldn't apply. It further said that the Seoul Western District Court is the court with jurisdiction over the presidential residence in Yongsan-gu District. Following the court's decision, Yoon's legal team emphasized that the dismissal of the appeal does not imply that the warrants are valid, and announced that they would file an appeal to the Supreme Court. Yoon also pledged to file charges against more than 100 people, including the head of the CIO, Oh Dong-un, and Deputy Chief of the National Police Agency, Lee Ho-young. Yoon's legal team claims that these officials from the CIO and police broke into a military protection zone and injured Presidential Security Service employees to execute what Yoon's team says is an unconstitutional and illegal arrest warrant. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
And as President Yoon's impeachment trial continues, the Constitutional Court on Monday held its first meeting of all 8 justices after 2 new members joined the bench last week. Although there is no one vacancy left, the court is still fully equipped to proceed with impeachment trials and deliver rulings. We connect with our Oh Soo-young at the Constitutional Court. Soo-young, so let's go over the significance of the meeting today and what will the justices be discussing?
Good morning to you, Tammy. Well, justices will be holding their first meeting on Monday, marking the launch of an 8-member panel after 75 days of 3 critical vacancies. Now, under the Constitutional Court Act, at least 7 justices are required to deliberate cases, and a minimum of 6 votes is needed to deliver a ruling on impeachment trials. Now, with the 8-strong bench, they're expected to discuss various cases, which of course includes President Yoon's impeachment trial. First, beginning with one of the most contentious points raised during the second preparatory hearing for Yoon's trial on Friday was the grounds for impeachment. The National Assembly revealed a shift in its approach, stating that it would no longer argue whether the martial law declaration constitutes insurrection under criminal law. Now, eliminating the process of this, of calling in related witnesses, would streamline the trial proceedings and therefore speed up the ruling. However, Yoon's legal team strongly opposed the move, arguing that it defeats the purpose of holding the trial, as the National Assembly's resolution cites insurrection as a reason for impeachment.
You know, on top of that, Yoon's team is arguing for more time, of course, and also raising procedural concerns.
That's right, Tammy. On Friday, the Constitutional Court decided not to schedule a third preparatory hearing for the trial, but it announced 5 hearing dates beginning January 14th through February 4th. This puts a significant time pressure on Yoon's team, which has been accused of employing delaying tactics by refusing delivery of court documents and not submitting sufficient materials during the first 2 preparatory hearings. Now, if Yoon skips the first trial session, then the court would have to reschedule, but a second absence would enable the panel to actually proceed without him. The president's attorney, Yoon slammed the court's decision to pre-schedule 5 trial hearings in a row, saying that it violates legal procedures. He cited Article 124-2 of the Criminal Procedure Rules, which states that when the presiding judge designates multiple trial dates at once, then the opinions of the prosecutor, defendant, or defense counsel must be heard. Yoon's attorney further revealed on Sunday that the president himself will show up at court on an appropriate date to present his opinions. Now, that would be an unprecedented move, as neither former Presidents Noon or Park Geun-hye attended their respective impeachment trials. So we don't know when Yoon will attend the hearing, but of course the earliest would be next Tuesday on the 14th.
All right, Seong, thank you for the updates. Now, the clock is ticking for investigators as now they have less than 24 hours to execute the warrant for President Yoon. And the CIO has decided to hand over the execution of the warrant to the police. Let's turn to a legal expert, Mr. An Jung-sun. Welcome back.
Morning.
Why do you think the investigators decided to do so over, other options?
Basically, they have police and CIA have a different view on the situation. So police, allegedly say sending the letter, which contains a single sentence, means that they will delegate their power to execute the arrest warrant to you, the police. And however, according to the police, they received that letter, I presumptive by email, 7 a.m. this morning. Mm-hmm. That means that they didn't have time first, they didn't have a prior discussion of the matter. And second, they didn't have time to review legality of documents. So the police will have to decide what to do with the document on the matter, right?
So that means the police doesn't have to just say yes and accept the request.
Well, you have to check the legality of the document because there's the technical issue because last year the police and the military and the CIO got together and established joint investigation headquarters. Means that literally speaking, joint investigation means that the three entities are in the equal footing. But however, we have to see if the letter is a simple request for the cooperation to the other agency. Perhaps it's legally permissible. But if it is just kind of notice of the delegation of power, means that something like supervising other agency, that might be the legal issues. So police have to decide what to do, and then they will take action.
Well, investigators have had difficult times to arrest politicians in the past, but has this ever happened before? Investigators handing over the right to execute a warrant to the police.
I think that's the first time ever, actually. Everything now, since the impeachment, I guess, martial law declaration, everything is, new. And then I guess most people got confused what to do. So you need time to review legality of the documents, and we have to see. I think police also very carefully reviewing the legality and what will decide what to do. Maybe perhaps afternoon today.
Right, all because these are unprecedented happenings. Now, to allow the police to carry out the execution, the CIO is filing a request to extend the arrest warrant period today. That's what they're saying. Will extending the period the warrant covers be an issue, or will it just go as smoothly?
Well, I guess that whether or not the CIO should apply for extend the arrest warrant is not the issue. Actually, it's more like whether or not what the police will do for that. Because that if the police decide to execute the arrest warrant by themselves, maybe I think they should apply for a new separate arrest warrant at court and then execute it. So basically means that the arrest warrant should be applied by the police and then executed by the police. That's I think the consistency with the legality issue maybe is get better. And the other issue is that when they reapply or apply for a separate arrest warrant, maybe they should apply. They can have two tactics. One, they can have a new arrest warrant which cover President Yoon and then the chief of Secret Service, deputy, chief, etc. Or they can have two separate warrant, one for the President Yoon and the other for the rest, including the chief and deputy chief of the Secret Service. I think they can use the second arrest warrant first, so that you can nullify their alliance with their and then the presidential residence, right? And then the second separate arrest for the President Yoon. Perhaps in that way, maybe they can avoid some hassling, right?
Well, let's say police does accept the CIO's request to carry out the execution and heads to Yoon's residence to execute the warrant in Yongsan. When will that be, and will it be any easier this time?
Well, I guess it's not easy, because there's so many people, the crowd there, and then the security issue, security concern also. So I guess that they have to wait and check out, find out the best timing, because that according to the police, they got the letter this morning, 7 a.m. So they need time to organize, coordinate it with other agencies what to do, and they try to find best timing and best method to do. So I guess that's things that police have to decide. A lot of things they have decided this morning, right?
Alrighty, sir. Thank you so much for your time and your insights. As always, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Over a week since the deadly Jeju Air passenger plane crash that killed 179 people. Most of the victims' bodies have been returned to their families. The investigation is also picking up pace to find out the exact cause of the tragedy. Lee Seung-jae reports.
1 week after the deadly Jeju Air passenger plane crash that killed scores of people, most of the victims have now been returned to their families. According to authorities, 176 out of 179 victims have been returned, with funerals set to conclude over the next few days. The remaining 3 victims will be returned to their families on Monday due to personal reasons. With search and recovery work at the site of the accident concluding after 3 phases, authorities have recovered approximately 800 personal items, Of them, 204 items were returned to the bereaved families, while the remaining items will be available for families to check and recover themselves. In the case of electronic devices like cell phones, authorities plan to conduct digital forensics in order to return them. While most of the emergency shelters used by the families at the Muan International Airport is being removed, the joint memorial set up on the first floor of the airport will remain in place for 49 days, in line with Buddhist traditions and at the request of the bereaved families. Meanwhile, the flight data recorder from the ill-fated plane has been sent to the U.S. for analysis. South Korea's Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport announced that the data extraction for the FDR cannot be performed in South Korea due to a missing connector, and it was sent to the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board earlier Monday morning. 2 investigators from the Aviation and Railway Accident Investigation Board will also leave for the U.S. to jointly conduct the investigation. The Transport Ministry on Saturday announced that it had concluded work on the transcript of the cockpit voice recorder containing the final 2 hours of the flight, but said it could not yet disclose the contents. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
A foreign minister meeting between South Korea and the U.S. is taking place here in Seoul today. It's the first in-person high-level talks between the two allies since the political turmoil here in Korea began in early December. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae-eun-ji has more.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is set to make his farewell trip to South Korea before the Biden administration ends later this month. South Korea's foreign ministry announced Friday that he will hold a meeting with his South Korean counterpart, Jeju Air, on Monday. The upcoming meeting is expected to act as an opportunity to publicly show that the two countries' alliance remains strong, despite the political turmoil from the brief imposition of martial law on December 3rd. Blinken previously said that South Korea has shown the strength of its democratic institutions after the country's parliament voted to impeach President Yoon.
Look, I think the most important thing is that the Republic of Korea has demonstrated its democratic resilience. We've seen it follow peacefully a process laid out in its constitution.
With only around 2 weeks left before he leaves office, the top American diplomat is also expected to reaffirm trilateral cooperation between South Korea, the U.S., and Japan, a key diplomatic achievement made during the Biden administration. Blinken will reportedly visit Japan after wrapping up his trip to Korea. His visit comes as Seoul and Washington recently agreed to resume the diplomatic interactions that had been put off because of the political fallout.
Our expectation is that the critical mechanisms in the U.S.-RK relationship will remain in place, and we believe that a meeting schedule is important.
Separately, as South Korea continues its efforts to restore credibility following the martial law, acting President Choi Sang-mok met with the American ambassador to Seoul, Philip Goldberg, and U.S. Forces Korea Commander Xavier Brunson on Friday, and discussed plans regarding the launch of the new U.S. administration. Choi vowed to push forward with diplomatic and security policies based on a strong alliance, and call for active cooperation. The two American officials also reaffirmed Washington's support for South Korea, as well as its commitment to defending the country. Bae-eun-ji, Arirang News.
South Korea's foreign reserves ended 2024 with a 5-year low in December last year due to the depreciation of the Korean won against the greenback. According to the Bank of Korea Monday, the country's foreign reserves as of end of December reached $415.6 billion, while it's an increase of $210 million from the end of November. It marks the lowest year-end figure in 5 years. A BOK official cited the strengthening U.S. dollar and government measures to ease foreign exchange market volatility among the reasons.
Good morning, I'm Yoon Se-young, and this is The World Now. We begin with the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict. Hamas, the Palestinian armed faction, has appeared to express willingness to release hostages in line with Israel's demands. According to Reuters, Hamas officials stated on Sunday local time that the group had approved a list of 34 hostages proposed by Israel. However, the officials said that the agreement's success hinges on whether Israel agrees to withdraw its military forces from the Gaza Strip and commit to a permanent ceasefire. In response, the Israeli Prime Minister's office issued a statement saying Hamas has yet to provide a list of hostages. On December 31st, Israel had requested the release of 34 hostages as a first step if a ceasefire was established. Hamas countered by proposing to return 22 surviving hostages and the remains of 12 deceased individuals. Israel rejected this offer at the time. New York City has implemented its controversial congestion pricing system, becoming the first U.S. city to impose such charges. Starting Sunday local time, drivers entering Manhattan's central business district will need to pay a fee of $9 per day for standard vehicles. The toll varies depending on the type of the vehicle and the time of day. The initiative aims to reduce traffic congestion in the city center and address the Metropolitan Transportation Authority's financial struggles. However, it has faced significant opposition, including from prominent New Yorkers such as President-elect Donald Trump. Critics also argue that while the toll may not significantly ease traffic congestion, it could impose an undue financial burden on drivers. Over in Tokyo, in the early hours of Sunday at Toyosu Market's first tuna auction of the year, a 276-kilogram bluefin tuna fetched 207 million yen, approximately $1.3 million. This winning bid marks the second highest price recorded since auction records began in 1999, and is nearly double last year's top bid of 114.2 million yen. The all-time highest price was set in 2019 at 333.6 million yen, or about $2.1 million. A representative of the company with the winning bid said that tuna is a symbol of good fortune, and he participated in the auction with the hope of bringing smiles to everyone through food. The world's oldest living person has been identified as a Brazilian Catholic nun. On Sunday local time, the longevity research organization Gerontology Research Group announced that Sister Ina Canavaro had reached 116 years and 211 days, making her the oldest living person in the world. This comes after the passing of the previous record holder, Japan's Tomiko Itooka, who died in late December last year at the age of 116. Born on June 8, 1908, Sister Canavaro resides in the Teresa Sisters Convent in Porto Alegre. She attributes her health and longevity to her faith and a positive mindset. She is a passionate fan of local soccer team AC Internacional, who celebrated her birthday by gifting her a personalized team jersey.
Rain has let up in the capital area, but the rest of the country is seeing more rain and snow. The east of Gyeonggi-do and Gangwon-do provinces could see 5 centimeters of more snowfall through late this afternoon, with a heavy snow advisory in place for Gangwon-do province. Meanwhile, western regions and Jeju will be choking as air quality stays very bad during the first half of the day. Keep a face mask on. Dust levels will be high nationwide all day today. After the highs will be similar to slightly higher this afternoon, topping out at 4 degrees in the capital, Daegu at 8 degrees. A dry advisory remains in place for the East Coast. Jeju will be rainy from lunchtime. And this week, we are expecting some major cold snap. On Thursday, Seoul could be waking up to a low of minus 12 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, southern regions, including Jeollado and Chungcheong-namdo provinces, will see frequent snowfall this week. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That wraps up our morning edition of Arirang News. We will be back tomorrow at the same time, 10 a.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.